310864. Stations your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
Anthony Busby always says hi. I feel like on YouTube.
Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
These are good problems to have, right?
Very.
So much success that you have more than one place to be.
5-3, touchdown! Oregon!
Off a dribble, launches, and hits the three! Oregon leads!
What a great opportunity it is to be able to play at the University of Oregon.
I'm just incredibly proud to be a part of something like this.
She wants another three. Oh, three in a row!
Oregon is headed to the Super Regional! Big Ten champions, your Oregon Ducks!
We are so privileged and so fortunate. We get to see all these young people. We get to see this incredible growth, which is what college is all about.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
It's a Friday. We've got a lot to cover. Joey Mack and Chris Clayton here in the Country Financial Studio today. I needed some emotional support from Chris Clayton because it is Sweet 16 Friday now for both men's basketball and women's basketball. And, of course, if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, the Sweet 16 Regional 2 game in Birmingham is currently going on between Duke and North Carolina. And we could have had an Oregon Sports Network broadcast of some women's basketball today. So I thought that both you and I would like to just release those demons on the show together today.
Yeah. The pain really hit when the game popped up on the screen, right? To see Duke
That's when you
playing.
were like, oh, man.
Yeah. It hurt, obviously, when the final buzzer sounded, but just to see Duke playing there, and they're going against North Carolina, and the headlines are exciting because it's Duke UNC in the Sweet 16. But, man, that's what's tough about March, though, too. It makes those runs that much more special because no matter who you are, your run in the NCAA tournament is going to come down to a few seconds, a few points, and a few possessions.
It's true.
And Oregon was right there. And the difference between sitting here instead of being in Birmingham can just be a few possessions. And that's what's agonizing. And that's why at the professional level they do series because one game doesn't always decide who the best team is or who deserves to go on to the next round.
Boy, that's such a great point.
Right. I mean, we've seen some of the best teams in professional history, WNBA and NBA history. They'll lose a game to an 8 seed, right? If that was an NCAA tournament game,
it's over.
96 Bulls maybe don't win 6 titles,
who
right?
knows?
They lose a few times in the first round. So it's just it's part of the glory of when you make a magical run, and then it's part of the agony to sit here and not be in Birmingham as Oregon came so close to winning at Duke and doesn't have the opportunity to play UNC.
So we will turn the page completely today because as we've talked about throughout the week, it's now the next season, right? We heard from both the coaching staffs talking about how it is the next season now. So we're going to do that as best we can here on the show today. So how are we going to do that? Well, we got baseball. We got softball. We got tennis. We got golf. We got acrobatics and tumbling all in action today. And then also Oregon lacrosse in action yesterday. We'll break all that down. And then this has been long overdue, truthfully, on the show. Associate Athletic Director and the Director of Services for Student Athletes, Jennie Leander. So Jennie's been in different roles in Oregon athletics in the past, but is now heading the Jaqua Center. That's where the Services for Student Athletes group is housed, the academic group, as they're often referred to, at least when on our broadcast. So earlier today, because it fit into her schedule this way, we had Jennie come over and sit here in the studio, and we talked for like an hour and did a great interview that I think a lot of you will really enjoy a peek behind the curtain of what goes on in the Jaqua Center and how the academics for these student athletes come to fruition and all the support that goes into it. And truthfully, if anyone's tuning in and you're like, man, I'm thinking about maybe coming to the University of Oregon, what a great resource Jennie and her team is. for any potential student athlete. So Chris was actually in the director's chair for this portion. I thought it was fun talking to Jennie.
No, Jennie's awesome, and I think her perspective is really cool because she has a background as an athlete. She was recruited by Kelly Graves as a basketball player, and when he was, as she described it, had hair, was a little skinnier. Those are her words. And I know Coach Graves would think that was funny to hear about that. But now, as you said, she's one of the academic people, or the smart people, I guess, if you will, compared to us.
Yes.
And so it's fun to hear her, how she works the dynamics between, athletics and academics and how they come together and how she's able to help student athletes out because she's been there. She was a student athlete at one point. And it was also fun to hear about in this interview is you guys had a really real conversation about the current landscape of athletics and how we use the term student athlete right now, but there's a lot of these, in her words, athletes at the University of Oregon and elsewhere. They're professionals. They are. I mean, they're making a lot of money that they deserve, and they have a lot of deals going their way. So it's fun to, as we kind of move along in this new landscape of college sports, we're not afraid to talk about it. It's reality now.
It's part of it.
We can just say what's the truth and what's in front of us. And for someone like her who's in that life day in and day out, give that perspective was really fun.
Yeah, so we got that for you coming up on today's show. So as we continue to turn the page towards spring sports, it's also spring break, which is actually one of the busiest times for the academic group because it's a quick turnover from term to term, right? There's grades come in that impact classes and schedules, and it all turns over very quick around spring break. So I really appreciate Jennie taking the time. That's coming up for you. First, though, Oregon women's tennis is in action currently against Indiana. So if you're listening in the Eugene area, you might be able to head over to the Student Tennis Center to take in some Oregon tennis today. Happy to report that Oregon women's tennis got the doubles point already, which it's like 70% of the time that you win the doubles point, you're going to win the match, actually, in collegiate tennis. So they already got the victory in the doubles point for Oregon women's tennis. More updates there. Oregon softball is throwing the first pitch in Piscataway, scheduled for 1 o'clock. It's game day for Oregon at Rutgers. Really cool opportunity for Oregon softball. As part of the long trip to New Jersey, they made a pit stop at MLB Network.
Oh, awesome.
Got to check out the MLB Network studios, met our guy Harold Reynolds, who's a big Duck, big Oregon fan, and it's MLB opening day yesterday, games continuing today. I thought that was such a cool experience, great extra thing that you get to incorporate into your itinerary going to MLB Network for the Oregon softball team.
I think we're biased. So
no doubt.
I think when I hear that, I'm like, whoa, awesome. Maybe some of the athletes are like, oh, that's kind of cool. But we're broadcasters, so that's exciting. And I think it's cool for athletes like that because there's an easy pathway for them in the future. If they do want to go into broadcasting, they see how that life works. And
they have an advantage. Huge advantage, and
that's
they should. I mean, playing at that high level,
they've got expertise and perspective that we'll just never have.
Never have it. Yeah, absolutely. So that was cool. For Oregon softball, though, they're on the road at Rutgers, part of Big Ten play continuing. And then Oregon baseball, this is a tremendous opportunity for the Ducks on the road. First time they've been in the Eastern time zone as part of the Big Ten transition. Game day for the Ducks. Grayson Grinsell gets the ball at 3 o'clock. It's a 2:45 pregame across the Oregon Sports Network. Ryan made the trip. He is got a full pregame for you, including the Toyota Coaches Corner with Mark Wazakowski. Ohio State is 0-6 in Big Ten play. They've gotten off to a tough start. First-year head coach for the Buckeyes. Oregon
this has been
sitting in a very, very good spot, truthfully. They're sitting tied for first place heading into the weekend.
That's right, first place. And there's been a few games here and there that have been anomalies where it's like, the offense wasn't quite there. The pitching let them down a little bit. Guess what? They're in first place. And that's baseball, right? You want to win your series. They're winning these series, and they've got a target on their back as the 10th-ranked team in the country. So they're taking care of business so far, and they're progressing towards the team they want to be, and they're in pursuit of that nationally elite class that they're getting there. They're getting more healthy, and it's fun to hear their journey over the course of the season where they hopefully can rack up wins. They're going to be favored in this one. Just got to take care of business against the Buckeyes.
Back-to-back super regionals, and the way the Ducks got there, in both cases, they won a regional on the road. One of the few programs that have been able to do that in back-to-back years. The goal here with Oregon, again, at number 10 in the rankings, as you alluded to, Chris, keep winning, we're going to end up being a host team. I mean, it's the end of March. We're getting ready for that April-May stretch run before the selection show on Memorial Day for the baseball programs around the country. Ducks are hoping to see their name pop up as a host site, one of the 16 host sites. And a series like this, why I bring this up now, a series like this is critical because, again, Ohio State 0-6. Ducks are tied in the standings at 7-2 in first place. Got to take care of business because otherwise you're going to always look back and there's a few you circle. When you end up not hosting a regional, when you end up finishing one game short of a conference title like the Ducks have had happen in the Pac-12 era, it's usually weekends like this that you end up circling and going, that's one that you felt like got away. To your point, I mean, you're going to have days where the offense isn't great and you get shut out for the first time. That happened last weekend. Ducks were able to bounce back. You're going to have games that get away from you, but there's been a couple circled already, and yet Oregon is still number 10 in the country. So keep it up, and you're going to be one of those 16 host sites.
Well, and let's be honest here, the Big Ten, not quite the baseball conference the Pac-12 was. It's still very competitive, and there's tough games game in and game out where the Ducks are challenging themselves. But the reality is quantity and consistency of wins becomes that much more important this season. You've got to limit your bad days and your off days because this year a loss to respectfully, an Ohio State team that's 0-6 in Big Ten play, that's a worse blemish than historically playing a Pac-12 team that's very well respected and you lose. So I just think day-to-day consistency, finding that every time they step on the diamond is going to be important because they're going to need a big quantity of wins this year to be able to host.
Acrobatics tumbling also in action today. 3 o'clock start time. They stayed east after a win at Quinnipiac on Sunday. Now here Friday evening in New York where they're competing against Iona. It's a 3 o'clock start for acrobatics and tumbling. It is on ESPN+. There's the schedule for the weekend. We'll check in as well on Oregon men's golf after a great start yesterday at the Goodwin. First, though, a timeout. When we return, checking in with Jennie Leander. You're going to enjoy this conversation. It's Duck Insider presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. More on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
Back to the Country Financial Studios in 60 seconds. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You know you make me wanna kick my heels up and throw my hands up and throw my head back and come on now, so good to see you real.
We are back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack, Chris Clayton, Jennie Leander, Associate Athletic Director. She heads the Services for Student Athletes group housed in the Jaqua Center. And you might have some familiarity to her.
Yeah.
Her voice will remind you of some great times for Oregon women's basketball. We'll tell you a little bit more about that. Jennie Leander. It was awesome catching up with her from earlier today in the Country Financial Studio. Okay, this has been long overdue on the show, and we have multiple things to cover. Jennie Leander is here, made the trek across the river from the Jaqua Center, the Director for Services for Student Athletes and Associate Athletic Director. I've always said that you are really important when you have a lot of slashes on your business card.
That's what they want you to think.
You have a lot of slashes on your business card. You're important.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad somebody thinks so.
I do.
No. I appreciate it.
Do. Okay,
yes.
We have a tradition on the show, and this is a little bit different because some of you who are listening on the radio are like, I've heard that voice before. That's because Jennie was our analyst for women's basketball for, 4 seasons, 5 seasons?
4 or 5,
yeah.
something like that,
Kay.
yeah.
Now, working on the academic side for student athletes, but you have never been in the studio.
Nope.
Which means that you have to tell your 2-minute life story.
Oh, okay. 2 minutes.
So
okay.
we will time you.
Okay.
It is competitive.
Oh, gosh.
There's
You
a
didn't
shot
tell me
clock.
this.
Nope, that's part of the tradition. There's no warning, and we will time you. The 2-minute life story, as close to 2 minutes as possible. That's the goal.
Okay.
2-minute life story of Jennie Leander.
Okay.
Go.
Awesome. Okay, so 2 minutes. I was born on a cold. No. Long story short, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. I am a basketball player. Played basketball at the University of California, Berkeley. Now part of the ACC, formerly of the Pac-10. Pac-12. It was Pac-10 when I was there. I have loved working with student athletes since my time as a student athlete. When I was done, I played overseas briefly, the WNBA. I'm aging myself. Wasn't even in existence at that time. So played overseas, thought I wanted to coach. Figured out I didn't want to draw plays on napkins and watch video all the time. So did 1 year as an assistant coach at Santa Clara University and moved over to working in academic support for student athletes. So finished my master's degree and ended up at U of O back in the early 2000s. Nice. Which is hard because I'm only 32. So, to be here 20 years and only be 32.
That's right.
Anyways, from there, I've kind of traveled some different roads here at U of O. I worked in academic support for student athletes for 13 years. Spent some time, 6 years, with the business school, so on the campus side of things. Pivoted back over to working with student athletes, took a 9-month hiatus at our friends up the road, Oregon State. Was the director of football academics there. And then when the director here decided to retire, I came back to Eugene, and I've now been in services for student athletes. What's my time? Do I have more time?
Pause at 1:39.6.
Okay, because I was going to say I can play the violin. I can ride a unicycle. What other interesting facts? That's really it.
1:46.
Okay, I mean,
pretty good.
It was like my professional life
But that
story.
was pretty good. Well, so here's why I do that, though.
Yeah.
I can read everyone's bio.
Yeah.
But I have no idea really what you're proud of.
Yeah.
And you bring up your own things in the 2-minute life
So
story. So 1:46
has
is pretty
anybody
good.
brought up riding a unicycle
No.
as a talent before? Okay,
So
that's part of their life story.
Is that your most unique talent?
Probably, but I haven't done it in a while.
How does one learn to ride a unicycle?
Very carefully.
Right.
When you're younger, you don't learn at this age. You learn when you're 10 or 12, and you spend a lot of time just riding along the wall. And then, then you just kind of go.
Do you still have a unicycle?
We have one in the family. I don't have it. My sister has it.
Okay. Is this like a family skill?
My dad so we had family friends who had older kids who could ride a unicycle, and he thought it was really cool. So he got us one, and we both learned. And then, so I won the 6th grade talent show, riding the unicycle and juggling.
Done.
Yeah.
Well, and juggling.
Yes.
That's another skill.
Backup career. Should all this go downhill, I had to have a backup plan, and I guess the circus was it.
Forget the D1 athlete as a
I'm
skill.
more proud of that. Yeah. I mean,
isn't it funny that might be a more unique skill than basketball?
Well, when you're in this realm, but
Interesting.
So there you go.
All right. How does one become the you at the University of Oregon? Like what you mentioned a little bit, but give us the career path a little bit more. How did you get into this?
Yeah, so I think part of why I really enjoy doing the academic support piece of being a student athlete is that when I was a student athlete, I chose a major because it fit around my practice time.
Interesting.
Which wasn't really the best strategy. I mean, I majored in something I enjoyed and it was great, but
what was your major?
I was a mass communications major.
You're a good communicator.
Sometimes.
You're communicating to the masses right now.
High mass of people.
You are using your degree.
Go Bears. And I had an advisor there who really kind of helped. Like, kind of, you find people, I think, in your journey as a student athlete. And another reason, like, I really enjoy doing this job. You kind of find people that have an impact that aren't always on the coaching staff. And so I was really lucky to have a really great advisor and also an athletic trainer. Those are the two areas that you see a lot of student athletes oftentimes.
Tremendous relationships.
Yeah, and it's great because we get to go on the journey with student athletes. So that's another reason I really like doing this. And the reason that I actually switched over from coaching is I really enjoy that piece of getting to work with student athletes. And I say we have some of the best jobs in the world, because when it comes to working with student athletes, because in academics we don't have anything to do with your playing time, we don't have anything to do with your scholarship. We're just here to help. It can be stressful, but I have no agenda other than I'm here to help your student athlete experience while you're at the U of O. So but I'm from the Northwest, just was looking for jobs, applied,
and here we are,
got a job 2003. We were saying an old Mac Court. It's where the study hall, we used to call it study hall. Now in the Jaqua Center, which is a phenomenal building and place. But really seen a lot of evolution in just college athletics and the University of Oregon.
Well, so I should say, like, often on the broadcast when I reference, the academics, it's like from the Jaqua staff, right? And that's why, right? It is literally the jewel that sits right on the front door.
Right when you come into the university.
Right there. You see the glass box. That's where all the student athletes are studying, and that's where Jennie's office is. Jennie Leander joining us, the Director for Services for Student Athletes. So, okay, to back up a step, every student athlete's a little bit different. And has different goals. Some may be more academic focused than others. So how do you tailor what you all do to each student athlete? What are the different success plans?
I mean, I think, it does vary by individual, of course, and also sometimes by sport. And I mean, I know we can talk on this forever, as we already have, around the transfer portal and the impact on sort of the academic side. But really, I think what we pitch a lot is, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I still tell people I sometimes don't know. I think people in the academic side sometimes get fixated on a major, like I must major in this to do something. And I think, yes, if you're going to be a doctor, architect, those types of things, I think, our pitch is often like, let's try to find something that you're passionate about, and match that up with, we have a great student athlete development group, places on campus where, like, we don't have a major in coaching, but if you want to coach, let's try to figure out academically what you're going to do, but also what can you do with your time here to potentially make that a career goal. So the academic piece is, obviously a big part of what they're doing here. Some people know exactly what they want to major in and stay on that path. I think there's a statistic, or used to be, that the average University of Oregon freshman just in general changes their major like 3.2 times.
3.2
something like that. And I don't know how they're measuring that, because but so you're helping people kind of figure out.
You're a life planner.
Sometimes.
Honestly,
but
you are.
You're trying to pitch that, though, in the academic space, right? Because student athletes live day to day, and oftentimes practice to practice. I did, a long time ago too. So you're really trying.
You went through it.
Yeah, and I always say that to people. I mean, it's vastly different from my days of playing, but the real essential core experience hasn't changed that much. You're homesick. The coach yelled at you. You have to do something for class. You're trying to balance a social life. So even though, the bells and whistles and all the things have changed quite a bit, that experience is still very much a part of today's student athlete.
What has changed?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I got a bag of power bars and 2 pairs of tennis shoes, basketball shoes, and we're like, good luck. No, I mean, I do think just in general, student athletes have always had a lot of pressure in terms of balancing academics, athletics, social life, family, all those types of things. I think now in the era of NIL, and I'm speaking primarily, football, men's basketball, women's basketball, is the immense amount of pressure and things in their life that they have to figure out how to juggle. A lot of them are professional athletes now, and that, and many of them are 17, 18, 19 years old. And so
a lot of pressure.
Yeah. And so our faculty athletic rep talks about this, and I think I really like how he talks about it in terms of time being a resource. That is the biggest, scarcest resource for student athletes these days. And so when you have all these competing things in a space that student athletes are working with, you have to kind of try to figure out how to carve out that academic space and get through some of the not noise, but just the chatter to kind of try to make sure people understand why getting a degree, why being a student. Yeah, and we talk a lot about developing that student identity piece. And I think that's harder to do a little bit sometimes now. But I will say, again, that's primarily in some of the sports. But I was, we just wrapped up the winter term. And, the average student athlete GPA in winter term was 3.24.
Woo!
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So, yeah, we had almost nearly 100 of our student athletes on the dean's list. So, student athletes are incredibly motivated people most of the time, and they're high performing, and, they are killing it in the classroom just like they are, on the field, on the track, all those types of things.
That's Jennie Leander, Associate Athletic Director, heads the Jaqua Center group, the services for student athletes, the academic advisors, learning specialists. Man, we're going to continue with Jennie Leander, but so much. Like, I'll be honest, I even looked over at Chris a couple times because he was recording and cutting the cameras for us, and I could tell both of us were like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
This is the peak behind, one of the operating groups here at the athletic department that I hope we can just shine a light on.
Yeah, well, and you wonder, we talk about it all the time, is, these student athletes, how do they manage? That's a lot of traveling. That's a lot to deal with while being essentially in a lot of ways professional athletes, constantly spending time on their craft, but also taking care of business in the classroom. And she's a big reason why they're able to do that, among her with the other tutors and everything, and what they're able to do at the Jaqua Center. So she's got a big hand in working with these student athletes every single day and making sure that they stay eligible and stay thriving, and also think about their futures after sports. So it's fun to hear her talk about how they do that effectively.
Yeah, it's always the running joke, right? Keep them eligible.
That's right. That's step one.
And it is like, there's so many obligations for a student athlete, and even figuring out the class schedule. Because I have said many times, like, as the landscape continues to change, I still see so much value in the college experience, the student athlete experience, and having that degree, because it only is going to supplement then later what happens in your life, right? Like, and especially for a student athlete. And so then it's like, okay, well, how do we maximize that time? What do you want to do? As we talked with Jennie about, like, what do you want to do as time moves forward? I want to get into that a little bit more when we return. It's Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. We're continuing with Jennie Leander after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial.
Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Back to the Country Financial Studios in 60 seconds. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Comes to a gun suicide attempt, all it takes is a moment.
Heather and I had an argument just like any other couple. I was lost. I had snapped. I had a gun and I was going to take my own life. Heather helped me realize that there was still a life to live for the better of myself, my family. My weapon is now safely put away.
A moment of crisis can happen to anyone. Store your guns, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo. Hear more safe stories at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
I want you to know. I said I want you to know right now. You've been good to me, baby.
You know, there's always two conversations that happen during every broadcast. There's the one that's going on the air. Then there's the one that's going on off the air. Like while we're playing an interview or even if I'm doing a segment and Chris is over there. Well, during the commercial break there, Chris just got up out of his chair.
He's just standing around.
Just walked over to the other side of the studio just to stand and then come right back. I get it, though. You got to go for a walk sometimes.
Just letting the legs. I was sitting here enjoying the conversation with Jennie, and then I was like, I'm going to take a little walk. And then I almost forgot where I was. Oh, we're doing a show. That's right. So I'm back here. I made it to the chair in time at the buzzer.
Yeah. Good. Our buddy, I don't know if you've seen this clip, but our buddy Travis Tyke, who is a morning anchor at Coin in Portland, Travis one time was in the middle of doing something right before the show.
Mm-hmm.
The Open was playing, the video, the news brought to you by whatever. And it cuts to camera, and you just see the very end of Travis's sprint to the desk, and then he turns in place as if everything was completely fine. And he almost made it.
Yeah.
And then the entire team just went, oh, you almost made it.
And he's in good shape, so
he's in
I
great
think
shape.
you wouldn't be able to hear him out of breath.
No.
Because I think a lot of people would, on that full sprint back to the desk, they would have been like,
yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, he made it. It was genuinely funny. And I hope he's okay with me telling that story because there have been a couple times where Jerry, I know, would be coming back to the headset at Matthew Knight Arena for halftime, and he'd get stuck talking to somebody. And next thing you know, it's like, I'm on the air.
Yeah.
And
sometimes it's for professional reasons.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're working on something, right? Especially with Travis Tyke's case, working in a newsroom. He was probably working on a package or working on something, and oh my God, I'm about to be on the air and had to sprint back.
Yep.
Sometimes you're like me. I was just standing around. We were talking baseball, and all of a sudden we're coming back from break. So.
I have yet. Have you had one of those yet? I have not missed an air cue yet. Have you?
No.
I haven't either. Okay.
Now it's gonna happen.
Now
tomorrow. That's right.
Oh no.
No, he's eating a hot dog. Sorry.
What have I done?
We missed him.
Yeah, I've never had it. My longest running nightmare though.
I was just gonna say that.
I hear in my nightmares. I hear our bump music coming back from a break, and I'm in my car driving to the broadcast location. That's my longest running nightmare now.
For me, I'm trying to call a game, and I suddenly can't speak. I'm my speech is slurred and slowed down. Not like I'm drunk, but I just can't put the words out. Or I'm calling the game, I'm doing great, and then I go to the bathroom and then forget that I am calling the game. It's like a career-defining game, and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot. It's in the third quarter.
Yeah.
And so, and then I wake up in a panic. So that's broadcaster nightmares for you.
I experienced, I watched it happen where, similar to what you described. So our buddy Josh Lewin, who's the voice of the Bruins, the last Pac-12 tournament, I walked by him, and we usually, broadcasters, we kind of talk to each other beforehand. We say, hey, I hope you lose. Also, good luck, that
Right.
sort of a thing. And I look at Josh, and he just points to his throat. He goes, yeah, I'm going to get through. And I was like, oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
This is half an hour before our pregame shows were supposed to start in the Pac-12 tournament. And I look at Josh. I was like, are you all right? What? Uh-oh. Well, long story short, was drinking tea left and right. he tried to do the game, but Ted Robinson, our buddy from at the time Pac-12 Network, Ted actually came and sat with him because Ted was doing the evening session on TV. He wasn't doing our session. So he came and sat with him. Ted ended up calling the entire game.
Oh.
Ted called the entire game on the UCLA radio network because Josh had lost his voice.
Yeah.
That would be traumatizing.
That's tough.
Just
getting sick in general. I know
it's
I
the
think
worst.
In certain industries, it's not that I'm like, oh, our life is so tough, woe is us. But
right.
in certain industries, if you get sick, okay, you've got a cold.
Take a sick day.
Yeah. If we get sick, it's you miss a crucial game.
Yeah.
It's hard to get somebody to fill in. So as I've gone along in my career, I've been very intense about using hand sanitizer and avoiding getting sick at all costs because of something like that.
Vitamins.
It's a nightmare idea to miss a broadcast because you're sick. You
I
shouldn't feel that way, but it does feel like you're letting everybody down.
I feel that way 100%. I take more vitamins now than I ever did as a kid.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, I didn't think that we were going to go in that direction today.
That was a very off-air conversation.
Yeah, how was that?
That's kind of what we talk about.
This is Duck Insider, and you just got the off-air conversation on the air. And as a result, I have now what we would call in the business burned the clock, which means we got to take a timeout. We're going to come back, and then we will continue our conversation with Jennie Leander. We're going to talk more with Jennie coming up next. Stick with us on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Jan here. Spring is in the air. Time to get back outside with a new Toyota.
Go from dreaming it to driving it. Dealer inventory may vary. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Event ends March 31st. Toyota, let's go places.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by your local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Jan here. Spring is in the air. Time to get back outside with a new Toyota.
Go from dreaming it to driving it. Dealer inventory may vary. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Event ends March 31st. Toyota, let's go places.
Duck Insider continues from the Country Financial Studios in 1 minute on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
You say you never give in to a meltdown and never fill your feed with kid photos. You say you'd never put a pacifier in your mouth to clean it and never let them run wild through the grocery store. So when you say you'd never let them get into a car without you there, no, it can happen. 1 in 4 hot car deaths happen when a kid gets into an unlocked car and can't get out. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Back in the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack and Chris Clayton. Jennie Leander, our guest today. We talked with her earlier this morning. She heads the Services for Student Athletes. And it's all, I have to pause before I say it because it's a tongue twister. Services for Student Athletes. Mm-hmm. She's the Director of Services for Student Athletes, Associate Athletic Director in charge of the Jaqua Center operation. Outstanding person. Picking up where we left off from a couple segments ago, Jennie was talking about just what the operation's like, how it's changed, and what all goes in to supporting a student athlete academically. Great stuff as we continue with Jennie Leander. You talk about the student identity, because we always say it's a student athlete, right? Mm-hmm. Student hyphen athlete, mm-hmm. not athlete student. Mm-hmm. But I think more now than maybe ever before, it is transposed, and that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're seeing a lot of the athlete-student, and maybe that's where it's trending, depending on what happens with the NCAA and house settlement and all these things down the line. But I do think, we see a lot of alums of the athletic program still coming back and understanding the value of a degree. I mean, for example, Jordan Bell is here finishing his degree, right? Or not here, but will finish his degree. And I tell this to football players, a lot of the freshmen. I've been working with some alums, having been here a long time. Some of the alums, and we have a former first-round draft pick who is trying to finish his degree because he wants to coach, and you can't coach.
You need it.
And they figure, so you can have all the money in the world, but the value of a degree is still there, and something that I think, still holds weight. We don't really know, I think, because the NIL and transfer portal is relatively early, what it's going to look like for a lot of these students who have transferred, and, their earnings trajectory, if you've ever watched that ESPN 30 for 30 broke, where they talk about the earnings trajectory being reversed. So they're going to earn a lot of money, at a young age, and sometimes go this way versus most of us that are
the opposite. We all hope.
We all hope. Yeah, we don't know. You don't know. But so I think it's an interesting space to be nowadays. It's got a lot of really cool benefits, but like I said, the pressures that some of these young men and women are under are astronomical.
Director of Services for Student Athletes, Jennie Leander, joining us. How's the transfer portal changed what you all do?
Yeah, so
because transferring, going from a junior college, community college for a regular student, right?
Yeah.
To a 4-year institution, that's a job.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for that. So
yeah,
how has it morphed?
No. So I think the transfer portal, again, it's great. I think having students be able to have the flexibility to move and go where they want to go, I believe that's important. I think the unintended consequences of this is that, there's been a lot of rule changes in the NCAA around transfer portals, removal of the, or one-time transfer exception and unlimited transfers, so you can go to multiple 4-year schools, is really the rules and legislation around academics has not changed at all. So student athletes are still subject to certain they're called progress towards degree requirements that are much, much harder to achieve when you've been at multiple institutions, because you have to have 60% of a degree when you're at a certain benchmark, and if you've been at 2 previous 4-year institutions,
credits don't transfer.
They don't transfer, and it's an enormous strain on not just our office, because we're doing a lot of evaluation of transcripts.
Sure.
Same with it's a trickle-down effect on campus. So our colleagues in the registrar's office and admissions on campus departments, there's an enormous sort of trickle-down impact of trying to find out if this person can come to the U of O, meet a certain percentage towards degree benchmark. And the student athletes, I think, are learning more now, but you are going to lose some of your credits no matter how you transfer.
Yeah.
So it's extending graduation timelines, and I think people are more aware of that now than they used to be. But it's just really changed the game, and it's really changed kind of what we do to a degree. But you really are kind of, especially with the windows, the portal windows. So over the holiday break in December.
Right. That's a busy time.
Busy time. And, luckily we have really great campus partners. The registrar's office and admissions office understands that.
Sure.
That's, for athletics. And so works really closely and is aware of that and willing to be responsive. But there are places where, it's a real struggle for certain athletic departments in certain places.
Unfair question.
Yeah.
Is that going to change? Is the larger legislation rules on academics from the NCAA, will it change? Should it change? We don't know.
I don't know. So the Big Ten academic directors, we actually put together a proposal that went to the NCAA Committee on Academics around giving a 1-term like grace period on some of these
That seems to make sense.
It does. And it basically kind of got stalled out with everything that's going on right now. I think
There's a lot going on in the world.
there's a lot going on in the NCAA world, and the new sort of everything. I feel like everybody's just waiting for April to figure out what's going to happen. And you wouldn't actually think that impacts academics, but it will, just because it just sort of, again, so yeah, I don't know. The hope is, this people in kind of our area are really trying to have a seat at the table, because like all things, we're seeing a lot of changes that, would be like, it'd be great if you asked to the people that are doing, working on the front lines of this, how this is impacting people.
What a concept you just illustrated.
Yeah, I know. And
what
it's
a
not,
concept.
again, not unique to I think you could say that in whatever field you happen to be in.
Sure.
But I think this one, it really is. And you're finding now such, in the A4 conferences versus everybody else, it's hard to find like an agreement and alignment about, in the academic space, what should happen, just like everywhere else. So, it's, who knows?
Who knows?
Stay tuned.
So we'll have Jennie back on, maybe, and when things do shift. Because one thing that I've learned in the last 5 years is that nothing's going to stay the same. It's all going to change. Adaptability is probably more important now than maybe it's ever been before. And I realize that probably the person who was sitting in my chair 50 years ago probably said the exact same thing. But that's adaptability in a nutshell right there, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the most common questions maybe that you would get from like an incoming freshman student athlete? Like from that group of people. What do they ask? What do they want to know?
I think a lot of them, it depends. I think when you're talking about the academic side, a lot of it is around majors. I think a lot of it is like, what is my day going to look like? Like, what is my academic, when do I have class? When do I have class? What that looks like. And so, so we'll oftentimes spend time just talking about like, here's your, class schedule. You're going to have this amount of, extra, tutoring, learning specialist appointments. We are always very concerned from the academic side in general about, people who are newcomers. So again, whether you're a brand new freshman and you're living away from home for the first time, you could be the best student in the world, but transition to a new, environment, transfers, those types of people. So, this is how many hours of, again, we use a generic study hall terminology, but it's really, it's more, it's all very structured in terms of what they're doing. So, how soon can I graduate? Those types of things. So, the generic things that most 17, 18-year-old freshmen are worried about.
Yeah. Scheduling, when to be somewhere.
Yeah. How do I get food? How do I
get food?
What am I going to eat?
Yeah. Snacks are common in the Jaqua, by the way, everybody. Like, you got to have the full stomach to do the best kind of studying.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. It's, again, one of the changes, if I didn't pack a lunch when I was a student athlete, I didn't eat.
You were hosed.
You're done. You're like, too bad. Now you can't turn around without bumping into, like, a nutrition bar or snack bar. Yeah, it's great.
That's great. Okay, final thoughts for Jennie Leander. What else should fans know? What we miss? I mean, like I said, this has been long overdue for the show, and I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
What else should the fans know? What did we miss?
I just want to say that, the student athletes here are incredible. They're doing so much behind the scenes. I mean, people get to see the face of them on the court, on the track. You get to know them a little bit, but these are incredible young people who are working their tails off, who are still young. I think that's the big thing that I feel like sometimes, really people miss is that, especially in the sport of football, where you're seeing like the newcomers come in halfway through their senior year. They graduate early. They're 17 and 18 years old. That they're young, and they're having to grow up real fast. I also think, most of them are not going to go pro and, statistically, and they're great students.
What's the old NCAA ad? 99.9%.
Yeah. I mean, so that they're young people, they're making mistakes, they're learning just like all of us, whatever, did. We don't have to do it. Yeah, all the time. We don't have to do it in social media space or those types of things, but, they're incredible young people who we're lucky to have here, and I'm just happy that we get to be a part of the experience and the journey.
Same.
Yeah.
It's been, so this is, let's see, my 11th season. Is that right? I think that's right.
Yeah.
My 11th season since graduation, and it's been so fun. You mentioned like the alumni connection. It's been so fun now to see some of those people come back. You mentioned Jordan, like getting his degree, right?
Yeah.
Like that. Those are the things, and I want to say for everyone, like you mentioned the relationship with trainers, the academic staff, like everyone, I'm telling you, those people end up being so influential and so important for so many students, student athletes. Bravo.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a fun job.
Yeah,
so.
that's great. Thank you for coming over.
No problem. Anytime.
You are welcome. Anytime.
Yeah, we can talk about anything. Unicycles, first time for everything on this show.
Unicycles, I
Great.
love it.
I'm glad to be a part of it.
Thanks, Jennie.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys.
That had to be the first time a unicycle was ever mentioned on this show.
History.
Historic. From Jennie Leander. And she really brought us full circle.
Mm-hmm.
The unique skill that you put on the like one-sheeter when you're at a conference or something of the unique skill icebreaker. She can ride a unicycle and juggle.
It's almost like she's
I
been
can't do either of those things.
Yeah. It's almost like she's broadcasted before.
Yeah.
She brought it up at the beginning of the interview, closed it up at the end.
Yep.
She's a pro.
She is a pro. Jennie Leander, Associate Athletic Director, the Director of Services for Student Athletes. Awesome, awesome conversation. Can't thank her enough for taking us inside the operation on the academic side. When we return, some events of note from yesterday, a full weekend preview, a check-in on some events in action if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour. So stick with us as we wrap up a Friday next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial.
Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
More Duck Insider from the Country Financial Studios after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry. I can roller skate while walking my dog. I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said,
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you in the Country Financial Studio, along with Chris Clayton today. And, well, Oregon softball is off to a good start.
Yeah, they
if you're joining us in the 1 o'clock hour, it is currently 12-0. The Ducks have the lead in the top of the second inning. You heard that correct. Second inning, Oregon softball leads 12-0 at Rutgers. It's still an Oregon 1-0 lead for women's tennis against Indiana. The Ducks won the doubles point. singles results starting to come in over at the Student Tennis Center if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour. Oregon baseball, a 2:45 pregame show, 3 o'clock Pacific time start at Ohio State. And then beach volleyball will be in action as well against Arizona. We'll tell you more about that. At the Goodwin for Oregon men's golf. The Ducks were off to a pretty good start yesterday. They were in second place after all of the individuals came in for the opening round, coming off a top 10 finish earlier this week at the Duck Invitational. The duo of Ramesh Salim and Eric Doyle had a great start at the Goodwin. And head coach Casey Martin, I think, likes where the Ducks are at. Again, Casey Martin's got a national contender on the golf course. Every year.
Mm-hmm.
Every year. New roster, every year. They just seem to be great. It's really impressive what they've done.
It's tough. I mean, it's amazing what he's been able to build, and the fact that athletes want to compete for the University of Oregon because, let's be honest, we don't have the greatest weather here for golf. So if I'm a golfer and I'm like, okay, where am I going to spend a lot of time outside? I love Eugene. I can say this as an Oregonian, but they're not coming here because it's going to be sunshine all year and it's 70 degrees. They're coming here because they want to golf for Casey Martin and they want to be part of that Oregon Ducks golf program. So that's a testament to what he's been able to build, and it's something that deserves a ton of credit. And it's why they have a new facility that opened up earlier this year.
The Jake.
It's greatness and it's consistent, and golfers that are in high school right now all over the country are looking at that going, I want to be part of that.
The Goodwin is one of the best tournaments on the West Coast annually. To give you an idea, there's 30 teams there. More than half of them are ranked in the national rankings. The Ducks just got into the clubhouse, and they were 8 over today. They're sitting at 12th as a team out of the 30-team field in the Goodwin that, again, features all kinds of ranked teams. That's just what Casey Martin has continued to do. Oregon Acrobatics and Tumbling, a 3 o'clock start today. It is on ESPN Plus against Iona. And then Oregon baseball, I mentioned that weekend series does continue tomorrow at noon. And then an early one at 9 a.m. The Duck baseball squad will get rolling against Ohio State on Sunday. Oregon lacrosse yesterday struggled to get into a rhythm in the first Big Ten road game, fell to number 6 Maryland. The Ducks are sitting at 5-6 overall, and we'll be back at home actually before you know it. Maryland's a good team though. That's a sport in lacrosse where the competition level has really elevated in the Big Ten. There's a lot of top 10 teams around lacrosse. Well, Jennie Leander, awesome stuff. Getting to know her and what she does at the Jaqua Center every day. Oregon baseball, Oregon softball, the Diamond Sports. Everybody's on the road this weekend.
What are we going to do?
I don't know. Need the tennis team to get a win here at the Student Tennis Center.
Yeah.
He's Chris Clayton. I'm Joey Mack. Ryan will be here on Monday after a long trip. See you then.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and I dedicate a lot of my time going fast. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently or having trouble with routine tasks.